for being here. And we'll start with a roll call.
Today is May 28, 2025. The time is 4:34, and trustees in attendance are Carla Gurbiolo.
Here.
Joanne Harris.
Here.
Josie Martinez.
Here.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Here.
Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Here.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Here.
Michelle Douglas Roberto.
Here.
Marcy Inns.
Here.
Beth Graham.
Here.
Judy Cruz is absent. Just report.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you. Let us start with a silent meditation, a moment to quietly outside the world, outside these walls, and focus on the work that we have ahead of us today. Just a reminder that your mics are on, so any side conversation will get picked up there. So keep that in mind. And first, we will move for approval of minutes. The minutes for the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on April 23rd was sent to you ahead of time. Is also included in your packet. The version of the packet has an updated version of the minutes, which was just one typographical error that was corrected from the packet that was mailed out via email last week on Friday. So I will entertain a motion once you have an opportunity to look at it.
I move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Beth.
I'll second.
Thank you, Andrea. So we have a first from Beth, a second from Andrea. Any questions or concerns? And we can go forward with the roll call vote.
Carla Gurbiolo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Valdez Roberto.
Aye.
Marcy Inns. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Just report.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we'll move into public comments, and I was informed that no one signed up for public comments. If anyone joined the meeting today with the intention of providing public comments but did not sign up, please let us know. And also, no email public comments were submitted either. Okay. Next, we will get the first item on the agenda, is the report from the library board chair. And I am pleased to report a number of library-related activities. The first one was attending Young Pegasus, and that is just such a wonderful experience, very inspiring to see children of all ages, especially some very poetic young people, share their work and also just get that appreciation and kind of elevate or amplify their voices. So shout out to the entire team. I know we see the front of Young Pegasus is Crescencia and Jennifer, but I know behind the scenes there's so many others that are working hard to make that program a success. So kudos to all of you. Afterwards, since Young Pegasus takes place at the Briscoe Art Museum, I took the opportunity to walk around Briscoe. I thought Marcy would be really proud of me. She's always telling me, oh, you got to check out the latest exhibit at the Briscoe, and it was lovely. I think, Beth, you and I kind of wandered up together a little bit around there, and some of the art was just so striking. One day, if I ever become an art collector, I want to pick up some pieces like that. So that was wonderful. Last week, I also, on the 15th, I also attended the advocacy board meeting. So looking forward to the update on that. And then last week, I was invited by by ARCSA, the Asian American Resource Center of San Antonio, to attend a groundbreaking along with community members up in Stone Oak. And that was a lovely celebration. It was like a sacred groundbreaking. And it was a fantastic opportunity to learn about many of the Asian American communities that call San Antonio home. So next I will move to reports from trustees, and I'm going to start on my left with Marianne Valdez-Hernandez.
Wow, okay. Okay. So I did meet with the community, with the Friends of Las Palmas, and also with the Friends of Memorial Libraries. I also worked really hard to get my council lady re-elected, Terry Castillo, like really hard. And she won. And then I met with the new library director, Mr. Gaswami, and also I was on the facilities committee. So,
Thank you, Marianne.
I also attended the meetings of the committees on which I serve, and had a meeting with the new library director, so he can do things my way.
Excellent, thank you.
I attended the budget committee meeting and was able to attend one of the Lambda Garden Conservancy events at Lambda Library. Not this past Saturday, the Saturday before. It was a huge bubbles event. It was actually, I mean, I don't know who was more fun for, the kids or the adults, but the bubbles were everywhere. It was pretty awesome.
Thank you, Carla.
May is extremely busy if you're in education, so I'm glad it's winding down today and tomorrow. But I am looking forward to a bunch of the summer programming, and I've already bookmarked a lot of the emails that I've received from SAPL, especially about the gardening. So I'm going to go to a couple of those because I've started gardening. So I'm excited that, books and outdoor activities.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay. On May the 7th, I attended virtually, but I attended the City Council B session budget meeting, which was very informative. It was enough to make me get up and get ice cold water when I just liked it. And then on May the 17th, I went over to McCreely's library, and they had, in honor of the Asian Pacific American heritage, they had an Indian dancing group there, which was very good, and I really enjoyed it. And we were in that little room that they do voting in, and it had that, what do you call those, air conditioning, portable ones, and it was so cool in there, and I really was happy about that, and it was comfortable. But earlier that Sunday, I did go to one at the Carver, and I don't know if they didn't have it on early enough, and because it was little fans. Thank God it was only 3 people at the meeting, but it was a little warm, and I don't know if they need to turn it on earlier or whatever. Then the Carver is having an activity beginning on Saturday, and it's Preservation Month, and they will have a discussion on the legend of African American labor in San Antonio, and then they have a speaker coming from, I don't remember where it was, but it's somebody I'm not familiar with, but he's going to talk on, he or she is going to talk on Black Seminole in this part of the country. And they're going to talk on primarily the group that was here in San Antonio and that migrated on to Mexico. And it's following in that same theme, because then they're going to have annual African American Book Festival, and one of the presenters will be talking about women on the Underground Railroad to Mexico, because so many of them went to Mexico for freedom. But that was good, and I enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. Marcy?
Yes, I went, first of all, I met with our commander-in-chief. And that was really informative, and it was great. And I also went to a budget meeting. I also went to Young Pegasus, and that is always inspiring. Just love to see those little kids, age 6, you know, all the way up, and just to see that, you know, the job that they do with that is always lovely, and I think the location is really perfect. And I've been in that library any number of times now, and I still walked around. I'm still in awe of the art over there. Just beautiful stuff. And if you get a chance, you know, I think it's the first Sunday, or maybe the last, but you can go online, but it's free. I really encourage you all to try to see it. The diorama of the Alamo, and it really is. They've done a fabulous job with that library. I went to Encino Friends, and they're getting ready for their 10th anniversary. They have it's a small friends group, but they're very sincere, and they're really working hard, you know, on getting some books. They're having problems getting books. And I know that during the pandemic, I had a whole lot of books. We had all that time that I, you know, donated to all the different libraries. So I really don't have much to give, and I think that happened to a lot of people. I think a lot of people got rid of their books, and yes, I think that's one of the most difficult things is trying to get books right now for their sales. But they have wonderful events there in Encino, and it's a lovely library. So I'm wishing them well with the 10th anniversary. I went to the Memorial Friends, you know, and Liz is here, I'm sure, somewhere. She's really picked up the ball, and she's going really well with it. I mean, she's just so in control of the whole thing. And I've been going to those Friends meetings for a really long time, and boy, she's not missing a beat on anything. So we kind of thank you so much for all that you're doing with that. And she actually goes to the Friends meetings of the different branches, which is very impressive. So we thank you for your service. And I went to Brook Hollow Friends meeting, and they are just out there on fire. They're really big. They've got like between 67 and 80 members. I mean, that group is growing, you know. And if you go to the meetings, and they've got a good sized number of people there at the meetings. And we had a guy step up, and he said he's going to run the book fair, which. He said he just moved back to San Antonio with his fiance, and they've always loved that library. And that library, people do love that library. I've said this a million times, but they really have a close connection to people. They really connect with those people who live in that area, and they love that library. I also went there to vote, you know, and it was a long line, but it moved fairly quickly. I guess the last thing is, I don't know if we talked about it at the last meeting. I think we did. I can't remember when I saw it, but I did want to give a shout out again for the fabulous movie, Libraries for All. It was just inspiring. It was just phenomenal. And I wish everybody needs to see that movie. If you have not, you guys, it's on PBS. Please see it. You'll feel so happy that you're connected to something as great as libraries. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you, Marcy. Fernanda?
Yes, thank you. I attended my committee meeting, and I want to say kudos to Jessica and the staff in regards to keeping us updated with all the changes and events happening at the library. And how some of the issues might affect or not affect in our favor or not in our favor. So thank you for keeping us abreast. I know it takes a lot of energy and a lot of sticking to the TV and watching what's going on. So thank you. Your work does not go unnoticed. So thank you.
Thank you. Josie?
Like Andrea, May gets a little bit crazy in my family because we have so many family celebrations in May. So I didn't make it to as many things in May, but I was at the facilities meeting on May 14th. I came to meditation right here in this room every Saturday, and it's just been so enjoyable. And the more and more you attend that type of thing, it just really is impactful in your life.
Thank you. Michelle?
Not much from these quarters. I actually met briefly with Jaspreet as to what I might be interested in, because I'm the newest member. So what committees I might be interested in, and we had some really nice discussion with regard to that, so we'll be getting into that soon. The most exciting thing is that Maureen Maverick, they were thrilled. I was met with like overjoyed people when I walked in there. They're like, "We're getting our air conditioning." And I'm like, "Yes, I know." So that was very nice. It was nice to have them excited about something like that. They're also a little trepidatious because they get split up for several months, and they don't know where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And I just said, "Don't worry about it. It'll all be okay." And they're really more concerned not with themselves, which I find really wonderful. They're concerned about the library patrons, because they're teen groups. Some of them are growing up and aging out. Some of them are like the group that does mahjong. They won't have any place to meet. So they're just hoping that when the library opens back up, they'll come back in too. That's a big concern. Other than that, everything's good.
Thank you. Wonderful. Getting air conditioning doesn't sound very exciting, but it is when the temperature is as hot as it is in San
2 years.
Yeah. Next, we'll hear a report from the Facilities Committee. Andrea?
No, we're skipping.
I understand the Facilities Committee did meet on May 14th.
Yes,
Andrea?
and
Yeah.
Kathy's going to give us an update.
Okay, great.
Good evening. Sorry I missed my cue. So we had two very exciting items to report to you tonight from the Facilities Committee meeting. Mark Loisel, somebody gave him vacation, so he's on vacation right now. So you're stuck with me. But the first is, as was mentioned, that Maverick Branch Library will be closing to get their complete replacement of their HVAC system. So that is a $1 million project that was funded from the 2024 capital improvement budget. So we have all the engineering done. The selected closure date is June 9th. So we're basically, we finished up everything needed to start the work, so that's really exciting. A couple of dates for you. So previously, the board had delegated selection of a closure date to the director. Of course, we have various pre-construction meetings at the branch to get ready for construction. We gave an update to the Facilities Committee at their last meeting on May 14th. Worked internally to make sure that we were comfortable with the closure date. We informed Michelle of that information. We're launching the communication plan now. And of course, we wanted to pick a date for the closure that was after the election day. So that's why June 9th is the selected date. We will expedite the project in any way we can. We're anticipating a closure of 14 to 16 weeks to do the project. We'll do our full communication plan as we typically do, with email, with signage posted inside. We put notices in patron holds to get the word out to them directly, social media, and then a couple of rounds of email reminders as we get closer to the June 9th date. Also, as of June 9th, we'll have closure signage on site to alert people as they approach the branch that it's closed. So
Before you move on, could I ask a question of Maureen Maverick? Where will all services be closed for that branch, or will there be like an alternate site?
Yes, so I was just going to mention the interim service planning is underway, so we'll have some more information soon, but there will be an interim service location with as much service as we can provide.
In a nearby location?
In another location nearby, yes.
Okay. And I think Cody and Maverick, I find that they're somewhat closely related, so Is there any like redirection? Are we proactively suggesting a few branches? as
We
well?
are.
I go is actually closer, so.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say IGO, actually, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in all the communications, we'll suggest the next 2 closest branches.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you, Kathy.
And then Kathy, I had one more thing. Since we have started early voting now and we already know the timeline, can we direct some of that signage as well to where the voting center is? So that when patrons are going to vote, they also see, oh, there's going to be an upcoming closure.
Absolutely.
Great suggestion.
And I had a question. If I remember correctly, the book return is separate from the building, is that correct? It's in the driveway? Will that be accessible to customers, or will they need to return books to the alternate service
Let me
location?
take that question back. Whenever we can keep the book drop open, we do. Sometimes it's close enough to the building where for staging of the construction, it's not possible, but I'll take that question back. We can definitely let the board know if we're going to be able to leave that book drop open.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. And then the second update is about the Cody branch. So this is another approaching $1 million HVAC project. This one is a little bit earlier in the process. The engineering is complete for this complete replacement of the system. But we are having to go to council for that one. So we have a target date of June 5th for that, at which point we'll be able to get a more precise schedule together with the vendor, and we'll continue to give you updates on that. This one does have a shortfall request in for it. We did have a shortfall for this project. We will be able to split it into 2 phases. There will only be 1 required closure period because the areas that are serviced by what we'd be doing in phase 2 are separate enough that we'd be able to do that without closing again. So we're pursuing resources to do the whole scope. So we do have a couple of dates for you. This, again, was one of the projects where the closure date was delegated to the director, gave an update to the Facilities Committee on May 14th, the update tonight to you all, and then the target date for the council item for the construction contract is June 5th.
And what is the period of closure for this?
This one, we'll really want to have the pre-construction meeting to make as expedited a duration as possible, but it's likely similar to Maverick, so likely 14 to 16 weeks. But once we have the contract and we have the pre-construction meeting with the contractor, we'll be able to put together a very detailed schedule, doing as many activities as we can concurrently and all those things to expedite. And that concludes the Facilities Committee report. You do have in your packet, of course, the customary report on yellow paper, which gives you an update on every single project we have. So if you have any questions about that, I'll be happy to try to address those as well.
I have a question. I know Mark's not here. I'll ask you anyway, and maybe you can get back to us as well. Any update on the theme selection for the art at Cody? That was like the next phase, right?
Right, yes. So the next phase is the artist selection, which actually we just got word of the date and time. So Department of Arts and Culture has invited our director to participate, as well as you as the District 8 trustee. So that's the next step. And so I think they probably give a recap of the community engagement so far and what themes have developed.
Okay, and when will that be?
The meeting for the artist selection. Can I get that to you after the meeting?
Of course.
Yeah, they emailed it to us. It's coming up soon.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Andrea or Kathy? Facilities? Thank you. Next, we will review and consider approval of the designs for the on-site solar projects at Bazan, Encino, Maverick, Macrelis, Memorial, Mission, and Schaefer branch libraries. And I think Kathy, is this also you? You're going to introduce Ashley.
You're probably wondering, why is she still standing up here? Only to introduce the item. So, as you know, we're really excited. It doesn't like the plexiglass, I think. To have this ongoing partnership with Office of Sustainability for all the various locations, and we're up to 11 locations total that will have on-site solar. And in just a minute, Ashley Williams will join us to go through tonight's item in detail. Tonight, we have the design for your consideration and hopefully approval that the Facilities Committee has moved forward for the on-site solar projects at Bazan, Encino, Maverick, McCreeless, Memorial, Mission, and Schaefer Branch. But before I go on, I want to also introduce Golda Obenzu, who's also here with us tonight from Office of Sustainability. Golda has been an amazing partner, always looking at ways we can increase sustainability of the libraries. So most important kind of headline is that for all of these projects, there will be no disruption to library service, meaning they will not require closures. There are some items that we'll go through very specifically that we want to mitigate, though, during the work to make sure that the libraries remain accessible. There'll be lots of communication, on-site signage, obviously contractor coordination about stop and start, what to expect on site, access to the library, and then we will continue to do the public education component that was so successful at the IGO branch, which was the first one we completed, to have the solar panel on site. Now, I understand there's one solar panel available to us, so it will be a traveling solar panel. But we will have that and other information on site as the projects go on. And then finally, something that we wanted to highlight, which I'm not sure if we highlighted before, is that when we do the parking lot canopies for these projects, if we disrupt any of the existing lighting that's on poles, they do add lighting to the canopies. So it actually ends up as an improvement to the parking lot lighting. So with that, I will let Ashley take over so she can share the details of the designs with you.
Thank you, Kathy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time today. So I want to talk a little bit about the background of the municipal on-site solar project. It's the second biggest in the nation, biggest in Texas. In the nation, it's second only to New York City. It was approved by City Council in November of 2023. We selected our contractor, Big Sun Solar. You might know that solar panels last for a really long time, but this isn't a one-and-done project. We've contracted with the installer to provide O&M services for at least 15 years. It's going to install 13 megawatts of solar across the city, which is going to offset our electricity by 11%. So 11% of all of our city buildings will be accounted for in this energy savings. It's going to save us $1.8 million per year, and we have those installations going out in all the districts across the city. Did it go? Okay. So John Igo, you'll see, is already complete. This beautiful picture that was on the first slide, that's the completed installation. It turned out pretty beautiful. We've already approved designs for Las Palmas and Brook Hollow. Las Palmas does have its bond project. We are aware of that, and construction on the solar installation will not be scheduled until after that project is complete. We have several new sites that we'll go over today. And then Carver is also on the list, but it's pending the install of the bond project. So this is a total of a $4.05 million in value that's being provided to the libraries. It's going to produce an estimated 2.07 megawatts, which is enough to power 290 homes on an annual basis. So the first up for your consideration is Bazan Branch Library. This is a rooftop system. It's going to be 84 kilowatts, which will offset the building's usage by 55%. We will need to block off some parking spaces during the construction. That will last about 4 weeks. As Kathy stated, no closures are anticipated for any of these projects, and 35 spaces will remain open during construction. So we do have the staging area marked in each of these layouts. I'm sorry, y'all, this is not matching what's down here. I don't know what I did.
What size is it? You're controlling this screen, we're here controlling this screen. Sorry about that.
Okay.
That was all planned.
Okay. Well, we needed a little comic relief. So in the staging area, you'll see at Bazan, it's going to be off to the side. They'll use 6 to 8 parking spaces during the installation. And as I stated before, 35 spaces will remain open. We do have a lot of these to go through. I don't know if we want to pause at the end of each site.
I think
questions,
if you
or we
could
want to just go through?
present all
Okay.
of them, and then trustees will note their questions to ask each
Okey-doke.
other. Thank you.
So next we have Encino Branch Library. This is a 143 kW canopy system. The intention is to offset the library usage by 98%. We'll use the canopy area plus 11 spaces initially while the canopy is being, the steel structure is being erected. After the steel structure is complete, they'll be giving back about 5 or 6 of those parking places. This project is expected to last about 4 weeks. At the end of this, you're going to have 41 covered parking places, which not only protects our people and our cars from the sun, but it also reduces the heat island effect. 90 spaces will remain open during construction at Encino. So next we have Maverick Branch Library. This is a rooftop system, 158 kW. It's going to offset about 78% of the energy usage. We'll need possibly 6 to 8 parking spaces for this one. You'll see that there's the yellow staging area in the back. That's on the grass. So if possible, if the ground is okay, we won't take any parking spaces. If we're not able to stage behind the building, then it'll be 6 to 8 spaces. And 69 spaces will remain open during construction at Maverick. Next we have Macrelis, which is a canopy and a rooftop system, about 122 kW. It'll offset approximately 78% of the library energy usage. During construction, we'll have the canopy area closed off as well as the 6 spaces there at the back. This is expected to last for 7 weeks. At the end, we'll have 24 covered parking places and 24 spaces will remain open during construction. Okay, next we have Memorial. This is also going to be a canopy installation. We're estimating the size of 86 kW, which will offset 104% of the energy usage at that branch. This will need 4 spaces in addition to the canopy during the installation, which will last about 6 weeks. At the end of that, we'll have 21 covered parking places, and during construction, 30 spaces are estimated to remain open. All right, next we have Mission Branch. This is also a canopy installation, 191 kW to offset about 90% of the energy usage at the library. During construction, we'll need the canopy area. No parking places will be blocked, but they will be blocking off the drive lane there to the edge of the canopy. So it'll make it only one way, but we won't have to close off any additional parking. At the end of that project, we'll have 47 covered parking places, and during the installation, 30 spaces will remain open. We also wanted to point out that there's additional parking available on the Ring Road at Mission Branch. All right, and next, finally, we have Schaefer Branch Library. This is a rooftop system, 151 kW, to offset about 98% of the energy usage at the library. We're going to take 6 to 8 parking spaces during this 7-week construction, and 46 spaces will be open during the construction of this project.
And at the risk of torturing Ashley more by standing behind her, I just wanted to add a couple of notes. So several really good pieces of feedback came from the facilities committee. One reason we so carefully documented how many spaces will remain available in the parking lot is because there will be some pain points on parking. Particularly, we're concerned with Macrelis. There is on-street parking, but we're working with some of the surrounding neighbors to see if we might be able to have some kind of agreement and safe passage, so to speak, to use some parking off-site. So we are working on that. Also, for Mission, of course, we'll coordinate with World Heritage Center and the other partners, so World Heritage Office, basically, as well as the YMCA. And then in terms of the time frame for these projects, we are looking at fiscal year 2026. So we'll give a lot of consideration to what time of the year would be the best time to do each of the projects. So for Macrelis, for example, because we are concerned about the parking, we definitely would not schedule this for the summer, but rather pick a time when perhaps it's a little bit lower demand. So just wanted to point out a couple of those things. So we are asking for action on this item for the approval of the design.
Thank you. I think Ashley and Kathy just stay up there because we may have some questions.
Can I add one more thing? Because I know we had talked about it, and you mentioned about Mission and talking with our surrounding areas, but we also had talked about enough signage to make sure people knew that it was a one-way, so that there were no accidents. So that was another thing that we had brought up.
Absolutely. And then also, thank you very much, Andrea, for mentioning that, because we'll also have full communication plans on all of them, as well as on-site signage as we're approaching the time that the parking spots will be blocked.
Okay. Can you go back to the first slide that shows a grid with all of the branches? And any other questions? I'll make sure trustees have an opportunity to ask questions. Yep, this one. Yep, that's one.
I have a question, but not about the projects. Does this count as discussion? Should we have a motion first and then ask our questions?
Yes, the discussion portion is for us to discuss the action, my understanding, and this is an opportunity for us to get clarity before making a motion.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just wasn't sure about the order.
Yeah. So all of these branches, there will be no closures to the branch. It will just be like a slight disruption in some cases because of the parking that's going to be taken, right? What does system value mean? Is that the cost of the system, or is that the value that it brings?
That's the cost of the system.
Okay, that's the price of the system. So the 4.05 million is a total of that last column?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what is there like a goal? Does the Office of Sustainability have some goal in what amount of, either for the libraries or for the system, for the city, to offset?
Yeah, so the goal for the system is to offset 11% of our total building energy usage. Okay. And it's for 13 megawatts of solar. So out of the 13 megawatts total, 2 megawatts will be installed on libraries.
Okay, so I noticed on some of the, if you could just randomly go to one of the slides, it shows the percentage of offset that is being provided, and I was just curious, like, how, for example, some IGO I think was like 98%, if I remember correctly, but Bazan is only 55%, and just understanding, like, looking at the way that we prioritize projects across the library system, I just want to understand, like, was this the maximum that was able to be reached, or like, how did we determine the design of the system, and then how much would be given back?
Yeah, it depends. So there's a lot of constraints and considerations that go in with selecting the site. Typically, we try to ideally go for design to about 80% of the building's energy usage. In cases where it's smaller than that or larger than that, then it's a design constraint. So like the one that's like 104%. That's the only one that we have so far that's larger, but because of the steel structure.
Which one was that? Encino,
Memorial.
I think? Oh, Memorial.
There we go. So because this is a canopy system, we were constrained by how big the canopy needed to be and what panels would go there.
Yeah.
So this is an unusual design, but in the case of Bazan, where it was only 55%, that's just as big, as much as would fit on the roof. So,
And the parking structure was not a possibility there?
correct.
Okay.
I guess I can just add one more thing. So because this is part of a bigger project as well, there was some prioritization among city facilities and also by geographic area. So we're kind of plugged in, no pun intended, to that prioritization as well across all the sites for the city.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. And it's not a criticism, but I just want to be aware of like the idea of offsetting electricity, right, as we look into the future, is something that is going to be praised. And I want to make sure we're spreading the ability to get that praise all across the city, not concentrating on just certain districts. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then last question is, are any of these projects self-funded by the offset of electricity that the city will gain in the out years?
Can you ask that again?
The funding, the investment that's being put into this, has there been any calculations of like what the estimated value of that will be in the future by not having to pay for rising electricity costs?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the savings that are calculated by our contractors and also by the finance department are being put back into the projects. So basically, we're putting the cost of the project up front to the city, and then the savings from the projects are going to be paying back those loans and funds in the city.
Okay. Would it be possible to share that number for the library portion of it? You don't have to give it to us now, but that would be, I would love to know that for the future, so as we're talking with other patrons and things like that, it's a great thing to be able to share. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I had a question.
Marianne?
Kathy, can you help me out? During facilities meeting, Andrea, I forgot to ask questions because my slides didn't come through. So on Bazan, can you just point out where the front door is to Bazan? In that?
Is it here? I'm not sure.
Is it the street is Buena Vista? Or Commerce? Or
I think the image on the left, Marianne, with the door,
Yeah.
it correlates to the top right corner of the picture on the right.
Path comes in from the top right.
like right here? Is that it? It's going to be the front door right there?
Yes.
Or under the trees?
Yeah.
Okay.
So where it says staging area, to the right of that, there's two cars. The person taking this picture might have been standing there.
Now I see it because it's under the trees. This is the front entrance, okay, to Bazan. Okay, I see it now. And how about a memorial?
Right there.
Okay. So then this is the site where, okay, okay.
This is the new addition, maybe, a new lobby, and then the front door is here. So this is the sort of the back parking lot, side parking lot.
So it's gonna be the side parking lot, because there's a lot of parking around Memorial, so.
There is
Okay.
already a side parking lot, isn't there?
Yes,
From
the big one, which was where the canopy's gonna be. Okay.
Yeah, and some of that I know because Golden,
Yeah,
Ashley have
they
told
have
me
parking in the
that
front
the
hall around
engineering
there, too.
also has to pick a location where the infrastructure can be run to do cost recovery for the project investment. So that's why there's various locations depending on the infrastructure to the building.
Okay, thank you for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Marianne.
Regarding Bazan, they've had perennial roof problems, as I know you're aware. Since this project is going to be a roof installation, what steps are we taking to be sure that we're not going to have to be doing repeated roof repairs and that the installation won't interfere? I know that y'all have looked at that.
Absolutely. So first thing was we picked roofs that are not end of life, so they have lots of life left to them. Then also the way the application is happening does not penetrate the roof when we have the Duralast on it. And then it's kind of a clamping system for the roofs that are metal. So it should not have any issues associated with it, with, invalidating the warranty for the roof or penetrating the roof or any of those things. We are also looking really carefully at the maintenance considerations because, there will be times when we have to clean the roof and those types of things. So we're kind of putting together that maintenance plan to also make sure we're on an ongoing basis maintaining it properly. Now, maintenance of the panels themselves is the vendor. So we won't have to maintain the panels.
There's a lot of them at Bazan.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. I think, Kathy, you had a sample motion available for us. Entertain a motion for this item.
I'll motion to approve the presented designs for the on-site solar projects at the Bazan, Encino, McCreeless, Maverick, Memorial, Mission, and Schaefer Branch libraries.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. This is a time for us to discuss a little bit. I thought that Bazan got a new roof recently. Was there a discussion about that in Facilities Committee?
No, we did not talk about that.
No.
We didn't talk
It's like
about
an
it,
insurance
but-
claim, I think, right, in the last couple of years. So that was I had a similar concern, like would there be any damage? Were there any other concerns that were raised during facilities?
No, I think they took a lot of our feedback and made adjustments with that. And then we also considered the feedback that happened with the previous panels that we brought. So we made sure that those things were discussed, anything that anybody had concerns about.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we can proceed with a roll call vote. Can you help with that, Jessica?
Carla Gorgiolo,
Aye.
Joanne Harris,
Aye.
Josie Martinez,
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz,
Aye.
Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez,
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas,
Aye.
Michelle Dobles Robledo,
Aye.
Marcy Ince, Beth Graham,
Aye.
Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Next, thank you so much, Ashley, and your team for your assistance. Appreciate you, and appreciate you both being here. Next, I'm going to move forward on request action item number 18, which is to receive an update on fiscal year 2026 budget development process and take appropriate action. Because there is a request to present sooner. So thank you for this accommodation. And Sukrit, are you going to provide an introduction?
And I would like to introduce Justina Tate. She's the budget director of City of San Antonio, and she'll be giving us an overview of the budget process of City of San Antonio.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here tonight. As Chris Sukret mentioned, my name is Justina Tate. I'm the budget director of the City of San Antonio, and today I wanted to give a brief overview of the fiscal year 2026 budget development, but also give you an update on the financial performance for fiscal year 2025, as well as our 5-year forecast, and this was presented to City Council on May 7th. So before I get into the meat of the presentation, I wanted to give you a quick overview of our current budget. So our current fiscal year begins October 1st and ends September 30th. The fiscal year 2025 adopted budget is almost $4 billion, and it's authorizing about 13,800 employees, of which about 4,600 are police and fire or uniformed employees, and the other are civilian employees. So our total budget, as I mentioned, is about $3.96 billion, and that's comprised of three main components. The first being our restricted funds at $1.4 billion. So restricted funds are governed by either federal, state, or local laws, and the revenues that are generated by these funds must be used for specific services. So for example, our airport revenues are governed by the federal government, and all the revenues generated at the airport must be used for aviation services. Another example is our solid waste fund. Our solid waste fund is governed by state and local laws, and the revenues that are generated by our solid waste fee, they must be used for trash pickup, recycling, and brush pickup. The next component is our capital budget at about $860 million, and this funds our large capital project. This includes our 2022 bond program, as well as our large capital projects that are happening at the airport. Finally, our general fund. The general fund is $1.67 billion. This is our largest operating fund, and it provides for the city's basic services. This includes public safety, infrastructure, library, animal care services, and code, among many other services that the city provides. So this next slide provides a brief overview of the different components of our budget process. So our 5-year financial forecast, I consider, is our kickoff for the budget process. So this 5-year financial forecast was provided to City Council on May 7th, and this gives the City Council and the community an idea of our financial pictures, using certain assumptions for both revenues and expenditures. As part of this presentation, we also provide an update on our current budget, and on May 15th, what Council did was a mid-year adjustment, a budget adjustment, which essentially right-sizes everybody's budget to what they are projecting to spend for this year. Once that 5-year forecast is presented to City Council, we go out and ask the community what their priorities are for the upcoming budget. So we've done outreach for as many years as I've been part of the budget office, but for the past 3 years, we have, and this year included, we are doing a statistically valid survey, and it's run by a third-party consultant. And they are asking what the community's priorities are for the upcoming budget. The results of this community input will be presented to City Council at the goal-setting session, which will be held on Friday, June 27th. Additionally, we will be providing an update, we'll be providing a presentation on the trial budget. Once these are provided, we move into budget development. So this is during the summer where the city manager meets with all the departments. We work to develop the budget. That will be presented on August 14th to the City Council. Once the budget's proposed, we will go back out to the community and ask for input on the proposed budget, but also most of the departments will present their budget in detail to City Council. We usually have between 10 and 12 budget work sessions with the council. And then finally, the budget is scheduled to be adopted on September 18th. Now the next couple slides get into a little bit more detail about these different components. So the first is our 5-year financial forecast. So this is an early financial outlook for the city as we begin the budget development process. It is not a budget. It is just what we know in terms of revenues and expenditures based on a set of assumptions. And it really sets the framework for upcoming budget discussions. As I mentioned, this was presented on May 7th to City Council. The next is our goal-setting session. The idea of the goal-setting session is to really get feedback from City Council on what their priorities are, combined with what the community has said, combine those with the community input and what their priorities are. So we take that information back and over the summer work to develop a budget that can be presented to City Council in August. During this goal-setting session this year, we will be presenting the trial budget. So the trial budget provides a preliminary allocation of resources for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. So it gives the council and the community an idea of what the proposed budget may look like. Oh, I'm sorry. Over the summer, we will work to develop the budget, which the city manager will present on August 14th. And as I mentioned, from August to mid-September, they'll be hold numerous community meetings with the community to let them know about what's included in the budget, but also get feedback. And most departments will present their budget to City Council. And finally, the budget will be is scheduled to be adopted by City Council on September 18th. Now, by charter, we must adopt the budget by September 27th. So that gives a quick overview of our budget process and where we are currently for fiscal year 2026, but also wanted to give you an update of our fiscal year 2025 financial performance. So I wanted to start by providing an overview of our current economic and financial uncertainties that may impact our financial picture. So as reported by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the economy contracted for the first 3 months in fiscal year 2025. This is the first contraction since the first quarter of 2022. The U.S. gross domestic product fell at an annual rate of 0.3% in the first quarter. Additionally, consumer confidence declined for the 5th consecutive month in April, and this is falling to levels not seen since the COVID-19 pandemic set in. Also, the consumer short-term outlook for income, business, and labor market conditions dropped by almost 13 points to 54.4, which is the lowest level seen since October of 2011. The Federal Reserve also met in May. They did not change their interest rates. It's still to be seen whether or not they will lower interest rates in this fiscal year. So they're trying to balance interest rates as well as inflation and other economic indicators so that if prices continue to rise and our economy contracts, we may be entering into a stagflation situation. Additionally, we have uncertainties at the federal level. We have uncertainties around continued federal funding for some of the programs and initiatives that we provide, as well as infrastructure. And finally, as most of you know, the state legislature is meeting right now. There are several bills that would, property taxes could decline as a result of some of these bills being passed, as well as our ability to issue debt in the future. So some of these uncertainties are already impacting our revenues. You'll see this in the update as part of our financial update. Most of our revenue sources are growing, but at a much slower pace than what we had anticipated when we adopted the budget in September. So these include property tax, sales tax, our airport revenues, as well as our hotel occupancy tax. However, our development services fund, which this provides revenues for any of our development, permitting, inspections for our development within the city, we have collected less revenues than what we collected at the same time last year. So that fund is already being impacted. So for the general fund, for the first 6 months, we've collected about $1.4 million less than what we had anticipated for the first 6 months. And we are projecting to be about $9.7 million, or 0.6% below what we had anticipated. This is really driven by sales tax, as well as property taxes, which are two of the three largest revenue sources for the city of San Antonio. So our sales tax, as I mentioned, it is growing, but at a much slower pace. And our property taxes, we are projecting about $9.8 million lower. And this is due to anticipated value loss as a result of additional exemptions, protest, arbitration, and litigation. So this next slide provides an overview of our revenues broken out by our four large categories. So our sales tax, property tax, and CPS, those three revenue sources make up 81% of our collections. So as you can see, two of the three that I mentioned we are lower than what we had anticipated. For sales tax, we are projecting that we're going to grow by about 2% compared to last year's collections. However, when we presented the budget and the budget was adopted, we were assuming a 3.3% increase or growth over our 2024. So this results in a reduction of about $5.2 million for sales tax. For property tax, we are projecting, as I mentioned, $9.8 million below budget, and this is really due to a reduction in the property value from exemptions, protest, and litigation. Finally, I do want to highlight our CPS revenue. So our CPS revenue is about $455 million, and we receive about up to 14% of gross electric and gas sales from CPS as a return on investment and a payment in lieu of taxes. So in fiscal year 2025, City Council adopted a policy that we have two components to our CPS revenue, our base revenue and our off-system sales revenue. So off-system sales is when CPS generates enough energy that they can sell into the market. They can sell to ERCOT, and other cities, other companies purchase that energy. So that's what we call off-system sales. So as part of this financial policy, City Council said, we have a $10 million cap. So anything over $10 million of off-system sales will be reserved for future discussion with City Council. So as you can see from the table on your left, we have collected about $4.8 million more than that $10 million cap. And we're projecting to collect about $22 million. We are reserving, as part of that financial policy, we are reserving that. And if we, at the end of the year, if we have that $22 million and we've met our base payment, City Council can have a discussion. And that money, last year, that money was transferred back to CPS for capital projects, for resiliency and sustainability. So overall, based on our revenue and So based on our updated revenue and expenditure projections for fiscal year 2025, the general fund financial position is about $2.4 million less than what we had anticipated when we adopted the budget. This is primarily due to revenues, sales tax and property tax, which is offset by one-time better beginning balance and slightly less expense. So as part of our financial practices, we will continue to monitor this on a monthly basis for both revenues and expenses. And as part of the trial budget, we will provide City Council with updated projections on June 27th. So now I wanted to move into our five-year financial forecast. Our forecast is not structurally balanced, and we have deficits in all 5 years. So structurally balanced is when our revenues meet or exceed our expenditures, and right now we're flipped. So our expenditures are higher than what our revenues are. Our revenue growth, our reoccurring revenue growth, is not keeping up with our projected expenses. So in order to mitigate this imbalance and address these deficits, spending cuts will be needed to align spending with our revenue growth in fiscal year 2026 as well as 2027. So starting with our revenue assumptions included in the 5-year forecast, this next slide illustrates what we anticipate to collect in fiscal year 2026 compared to our estimates for fiscal year 2025. Overall, we are projecting growth of about $25 million, or about 1.6%. However, our revenues are growing at a slower pace. Based on our current information from our Bear Appraisal District, we are anticipating that property values are flat. And the only growth that we're anticipating is in new improvements or new construction. For our other revenues, we are anticipating about $8.9 million decline. This is a result of less interest income. We do anticipate that the Federal Reserve at some point will begin to lower interest rates, as well as continued decline in our telecommunications and cable. So as more people move to satellite and streaming, as well as cell phones and get rid of landlines, that telecommunication and cable tax is declining as subscribers decline. So as part of our trial budget, we will be updating these revenues as we receive more information specifically from the Bear Appraisal District, as well as additional information and data from our sales tax and CPS. Now I wanted to provide a little bit more context on our property tax. This next slide illustrates the impact on taxable value in fiscal year 2025 and our current assumptions for fiscal year 2026. When we adopted the budget, you can see in the table the fiscal year 2025 budget, that's what we adopted. So we assumed a growth of about 6.56%. But because of the exemptions, the protest litigation, that growth has declined to about 4%. And for next year, we're assuming about a 1.8% growth, and you can see that's all in our new improvements. This is very preliminary data right now. We will be getting updates from Bear County Appraisal District. Our final certified roll will be July 25th, so that will be what the budget is based on. So as we receive more information, we will be providing City Council with updates, specifically at our June 27th trial budget. This next slide shows our property tax collections, what we actually collected from 2019 to fiscal year 2024, and what we are projecting from fiscal year 2025 to 2030. As you can see from this slide, from 2019 to 2024, our average growth was about 5%, with a high of about 6.2% to a low of about 3.4%. With our forecast, we're assuming an average of about 1.8%. Now, as you may recall, SB 2 was passed several years ago, and that bill capped our property tax growth on the base value at 3.5%. So while in the past, when we've had recessions, we've been able to recover. However, with that cap, we can now, our revenues will grow by at most 3.5%.
What's the difference in the bars and the line chart in that?
The line graph is the growth year over year, so the percentage growth, and then the bar is what we've actually collected.
The shaded area is what
So the darker color is actuals, so that's what we actually collected, and then 25 through 2030 is our projection. So these, as we receive more data, these could change, but we wanted to give you an idea of what we used to see in terms of growth, and because of the different legislative bills, the actions that have been taken, we're seeing a much slower growth than what we've seen in the past.
What year was that state law?
I believe it was 2019 that went into effect. I believe it was there was a little delay because of COVID hitting, but we're starting to see the impact of that bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next slide is sales tax. So this the graph is a similar, where we're showing the line graph shows the year-over-year collections, and the bar chart shows actual collections from 2019 to 2024, and then the green, lighter green, is what we're projecting. So in terms of actuals, our average is about 5.8%. However, you can see in 21 and 22, we quickly bounced back from the pandemic. So we saw a growth of 12% and 14%. We're not seeing that growth anymore. You can see in 23 and 24, it kind of leveled off to 2.5%, 2.6%. And we're assuming, based upon the economic uncertainties and things that are happening, we're assuming about a 2% growth for 25 and 26, and then slight increases in the outer years. I've mentioned this, and so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this slide, but our 5-year forecast, we are assuming that financial policy for off-system sales for CPS, that financial policy is in place. So we are not assuming collections for CPS for off-system sales over $10 million. So for fiscal year 2025 to 2030, we are projecting off-system sales between 32.1 million and 18.9 million in off-system sales for CPS. So for our general fund expenditure assumptions that we're including in the 5-year forecast, we are fully funding initiatives that were added in fiscal year 2025. The 5-year forecast reflects funding to provide today's city services. We are removing one-time expenses, so anything that was added in fiscal year 2025, like capital outlay or a study that may have been a one-time study, those expenses are removed as part of the financial forecast. We've included increases for contracts, healthcare benefits, and inflation. We're also including employee compensation consistent with police and fire collective bargaining agreements. And we have a 3% civilian compensation built into the 5-year forecast. This does reflect new operating costs for completed capital projects. So this includes our 2022 bond projects that may come online, to include our D3 substation, the Carver Branch Library expansion, and new linear creekways and parks, so that the operations and maintenance for servicing those facilities are included in this 5-year forecast. However, there are no improvements. So in the past, we've added, there was a plan to add 65 officers, but those improvements are not included in this 5-year forecast. Finally, it maintains the general fund ending balance at a minimum of at least 15%. And this is another financial policy that the council has adopted. So as you combine all the revenue assumptions and all the expense assumptions, we develop our 5-year forecast. This slide illustrates our projected revenues and expenses that are included in our 5-year forecast. This slide is just a summary, but it does include what we think we're going to collect in terms of revenues and how that is offset by our expenses. So you can see that for fiscal year 2026, we are projecting a deficit of about $31 million, and that's growing to about $148 million in 2027. So and a large part of this is due to employee compensation increases. Our average growth for revenues is about 2.1%. Our average growth for expenses is about 3.6%. So going back to what I mentioned, we will be working over the summer to slow down our expenses so that our expense growth and our revenue growth align, because by law, we do have to present a balanced budget to City Council. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Go ahead, Fernanda. I have several unless somebody else wants to go. I have my list.
Okay. First of all, I know you mentioned on the very beginning of the slides in regards to having community meetings to inform the community of the budget before it goes to council, and then council joining, right, to be able to approve the budget.
Sure.
How many community meetings will you all have?
We typically have one in each district, so 10 total.
And I'm not sure if you're going to know this, but feel free to, if you can get back
Sure.
to us. Last year, what was the turnout of those community meetings for your budget meetings?
I can look that up. It's in our executive summary. We do once those community meetings are completed, we do a report to the community as well as the city council, and that number's in that report, and I can pull it real quick. I just don't have it off the top of my head.
No, not a problem. Would you say, just off the top of your head, that attendance has increased, attendance has decreased?
So we changed the format of our community outreach meetings. It's more of what we do now, or what we've done in the past 2 years, is a panel discussion. So we have representatives from the city. We have whatever is the initiatives that we're including: homeless, police, fire, animal care services, library. They'll do a panel discussion, and then they'll take questions from the city, from residents. So we've been well received. I think we've gotten really good turnout for our district meetings, but I can get you that number.
Thank you. And then my last question. How did you communicate to the city about these community budget meetings?
We coordinate very closely with our community engagement team. So we start advertising for those community meetings as soon as we propose the budget. We also work with our council districts to get that information out. It's on our TVSA, it's on the website, it's on social media. Council members will include it in newsletters. So we try to get the word out, and then it's part of the budget document as well, and online.
How do you reach those people that do not have access to the digital?
Sure. So we do flyers in certain districts where there may be not as where that need is there.
Thank you.
Is Speak Up part of that?
SA Speak Up it's SA Speak Up your budget.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And there were individuals in the parking lots of the libraries during voting recently.
Yes.
Is that part of that as well?
Yes. So that's the pre-budget proposal. So that's what we're doing right now. And that's the statistically valid survey that we're doing, but we're also trying to get just general feedback from the community. But then we'll do another one after we propose the budget. And that's where that's where we have the panel discussion, because we have a budget that's been proposed to City Council.
And how long is the current community survey open? Like, when does it close?
I want to say it's June 7th.
Okay.
So we opened it May 12th, and we'll be presenting the results of that June 27th to City Council.
Okay. Any other questions?
Have you already conducted the statistically valid survey? Has that taken place yet?
It's being conducted right now. So what they do is they look for about 100 residents, random residents, 100 from each district, and work to get that response.
Is that mail or telephone or?
We try any way we can get a hold. So that is, we have ETC is our third-party company, and they run that survey for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Do you have one?
Yes, so I just looked at the survey right now because I hadn't, but it's been in my inbox. And it is just basically one question asking for the 4 priorities of the budget. So then is that information put into a spreadsheet, and then that's what's shared with council?
It's a full report. So what we look at, what's presented is what are the investment priorities for the community.
So you go by council district to show, or?
So when we present it to City Council, it'll be citywide. But what we'll have on the website that you can dig into it, you can do it by district, and then by different demographics you can do it as well to see what was the priority in every district. You can see that.
You stated that you can sort that data through demographics, so you'll be able to identify if they were male, if they were female,
Yes.
if they were an adult or a senior?
Yes, by age.
As well.
So yes, it will be online. So the survey and that data will be online once we finalize the report. And we can send that link.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, and I think, thank you for that.
Oh, sure.
Answering all our questions, and I think also Sukrit's going to provide an update on how the library is coordinating with these efforts.
Justina, thank you so much for providing us with this update. We are all grateful that you were able to give us city's perspective and give us this valuable insight with what's going on. So from our side, our department, library department, is working closely with OMB, Office of Management and Budget. We are at the beginning stages of the budget development for the library, and right now no decisions have been made. As you can see, there's a lot we have to still learn and move forward with. We'll keep the library board budget committee and the library board updated as the budget development progresses. So thank you for the budget committee. Thank you to the budget committee for doing all the hard work, but we will be working together moving forward and bringing more information in front of the board when we have more information.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I echo your positive comments to Justina. Thank you so much for presenting such very thorough analysis. I appreciate that. Next, thanks, Sukrit. So next we'll have a report from the library director. So you're in the perfect spot, Sukrit.
All right. So I've been continuing to meet with our wonderful library staff throughout the system. I am genuinely impressed with the dedication of our staff. Each branch I have visited have given me a different perspective. Each branch I have visited, I have seen that how much they desire to serve our community, and and that's that's our main goal. We exist because of the community. Our staff is confident in providing these services. We are doing story times, we are doing adult programmings, and we are doing senior programmings, we are doing computer classes, so all across our branches. So I am very impressed and thankful that we have such a wonderful staff. Now, another good news, I am excited to announce the 2 interim appointments to provide support in the Public Services Administrator role. You might have heard PSAs, so those are Public Services Administrators. Jennifer Velasquez, Library Services Manager, will provide leadership as a Public Services Administrator while we work to recruit in Jake Orland's position from San Antonio Public Library. And Jennifer is here, so I would like her to stand up and wave. Thank you, Jennifer. We also have Lily Trevino Perez, our Librarian 3, who will be providing leadership as the PSA for the next few weeks, next 6 weeks, to fill in for a short-term absence in this role. And Lily is also here among us. And Lily, would you mind standing up and waving? Thank you. Both Jennifer and Lily are well positioned to assume their new roles as PSA. And thank you again for welcoming them. At your place in front of you, you will find a bundle of Summer with SAPL Paleta bookmarks. We are giving you a sneak peek of the bookmarks, as one will be released each Monday through July 22nd. In your board packet, the detailed director's report is included, and that basically has reports from all our system-wide highlights. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me today or later. And lastly, I would like to thank and welcome our Assistant City Manager, David McCary, for, again, his steadfast support to our libraries and library staff. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for Sukrit? I noticed the Library Excellence, the City Manager's Excellence Award was given to a few members of your team.
That's right.
Can you share that with the rest of the trustees?
Absolutely. So Scott Williams' team worked on those beautiful library cards. I think there are like 7 different designs. And so they got City Manager's Excellence Award. And I was honored to be sitting with these amazing people, amazing staff members who developed those designs. Thank you. And personally, I was so impressed with all those designs. Of course, I'm supposed to have just one, but I have all 7 in my office. And I am planning on framing those and putting those in my office. And thank you to Haley for giving me all those, because I believe she heard that I was interested in all those. So I have all those in my office. So that is going to be the first art piece in my office.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Congratulations to Scott and the entire team. And you're on the leading edge, because I've noticed a lot of other library systems picking up the idea of customizable library cards. So it's really great to know that SAPL's at the forefront there. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the budget report for April 2025.
Hi, good afternoon, board members and board chair. I'm Gabriela Rauschenberg, Department Fiscal Administrator, and I'm just going to provide you with the brief overview of the library's budget report as of the end of April. So it is on the green sheets in your packet if you'd like to look over it. As of the end of April, 58% of the fiscal year had elapsed, and we were at 58% spent, which includes the encumbrances, or 57% without them. So overall, we're on track with spending as reported last month. For this month's report, I added in the fiscal year 24 carry forward budget in the amount of approximately $353,000 to the budget column. So last month it was our approved budget. Now it's a revised budget, which includes our carry forwards from last year. Of the $353,000, we have spent about $222,000 of that already as of the end of April. So each year during the budget process, the department evaluates its open purchase orders at the end of the fiscal year to determine if the goods are going to be received or if the services are going to have been provided by the end of the fiscal year. If they're not, then we request and work with the budget office in order to carry those funds forward into the current budget cycle, so that when those items come in and those services are completed, we can pay for them without affecting our current year budget. So that is one change in the report from last year, or last month. And then, as Justina stated earlier, on May 15th, Council did approve the mid-year adjustment, and that adjustment will be reflected next month on the report. So that's it from me, but if you have any questions, I'll take them.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have a report from the Executive Committee, and the committee did meet on May 20th to set the agenda for tonight's meeting. Next, we have a report from the Advocacy Committee, and Judy Cruz, the chair of the Advocacy Committee, is not here today. They did meet on May 15th, and Jessica Zurita will deliver a report.
Good afternoon. I will provide a brief update regarding the Advocacy Committee meeting, and then we also have Cristina Hernandez from the Office of City Attorney to provide some information regarding the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals recent ruling regarding Little versus Llano County. So that'll be following this presentation. So to begin with, last month we shared information about the Texas 89th regular session timeline, and so today we are 3 days away from the regular session concluding. So we are monitoring a few bills, and we'll review those bills with you shortly. After these next 3 days, it's unknown whether or not there will be a special session called, so we will continue to monitor as we need to. There are 3 bills that we are actively reviewing and tracking right now. The first is HB 3225. This is a bill that has now crossed over from the House to the Senate, and it is currently on calendars, which means it's waiting to be heard on the Senate floor. So it's gone through committees. HB 3225 had a companion bill on the Senate side, so that allowed the bill to move a little bit faster through that process. And so the city of San Antonio officially filed a opposition to this bill, so we are on record opposing this bill. And as it states here, the caption is relating to the restriction of access by minors to sexually explicit materials in municipal public library collections and providing a civil penalty. And this civil penalty is up to $10,000. And so it is also working with or dealing with collections in asking or mandating that public libraries do an annual review of collections and inventory for children's materials as well. So we have been engaging with the Texas Library Association throughout this session regarding this bill. The next bill is SB 412. This bill has passed both in the Senate and the House and was sent to the governor for signature. This bill is relating to, it's not a library-specific bill, but it does have an impact to public libraries as well as other professions. It essentially removes the affirmative defense for attorneys, medical professionals, counselors, those types of individuals related to material that is considered, or conduct that's considered obscene or otherwise harmful to children. So this bill is on its way to becoming law, essentially. So we are going to be working very closely with the city attorney's office to see how it will impact the San Antonio Public Library. And our directors also engaged with other library directors in Texas to talk about this bill and how they are planning as well, so that we can collaborate and see what makes sense for San Antonio Public Library. So we will bring more information when available regarding this piece of legislation. And the last one is SB 18. The city of San Antonio did also file an opposition to this bill, and that is because of the city's non-discrimination ordinance, our NDO. So this bill essentially has passed the Senate, is on the House side, and is waiting to be heard on the floor. So it is a bill that we do not see at the moment that it's going to impact operations of the San Antonio Public Library, because it primarily deals with story time, and it basically says the presenter of a story time cannot be a male dressed as a female presenting a story time, and that story time be the theme of what they're wearing. So we don't do those types of activities at the San Antonio Public Library. We have our professional librarians who deliver story time. We don't allow any other third party to come in to deliver story time, so we don't see this bill impacting us. We do, the city of course did oppose it, and we very much do oppose it, but it won't impact us. If it is passed, it's not going to be something that will impact our operations. And so these are the three bills that we are actively tracking right now. And once the session concludes, we will provide an update to the advocacy committee and then continue on as we need to, and providing additional information to the library board. And I'll turn it over to Christina.
Good evening. I just wanted to provide a brief update on Little versus Llano County. This was a case out of Llano County where the county library removed 17 book titles from their shelves. On Friday, May 23rd, this past week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that plaintiffs cannot invoke a right to receive information to challenge a public library's removal of books. So essentially, there's no First Amendment right to information. This ruling directly contradicts a recent ruling out of the Eighth Circuit, as well as longstanding legal precedent. So that makes it extremely likely that it will go up to the Supreme Court at some point. At the moment, it's not anticipated that there will be immediate impact to library operations, but Just wanted to make you all aware of that.
Christina,
Yes, ma'am.
could you explain affirmative defense with regard to SB 412?
Sure. An affirmative defense is used in criminal cases. It's often used to lessen the charge. In other words, it's something that if somebody is accused of something and there's an affirmative defense that exists, they can say they can use that as a way to either lessen or totally dismiss the charge, depending on what it is. So, for example, in that bill, there was an affirmative defense if somebody got accused of something related to sexually explicit materials, but there was a bona fide educational purpose, they could not be charged as if it was somebody, a stranger, introducing those materials to children. So that now doesn't exist except for law enforcement and judges. It essentially takes out a whole category of people, including parents, teachers, and librarians.
Thank you.
Can you also explain when Jessica provided an update, but I think you could speak to it as well, and said the city spoke, went on the record as being against that, like who from the city is doing that and how we coordinate with that team? Could you mention that as well?
Yeah, the library coordinated with our office, but mainly with Office of Government Affairs, who heads up that process in the legislative sessions. So it was through Office of Legislative Affairs. There's some written testimony. Sometimes city staff will go up to Austin to testify as well, depending on what bill it is.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Next, we will get next we'll get a report from the Budget Committee.
The Budget Committee did meet on May the 21st, and Kathy will be giving the report. Thank you.
I guess we already had the action item. Is there anything in addition to, we had the update from Justina Tate. Is there anything additional?
Okay.
No? Okay, thank you. Next, a report from the Naming Committee.
We did not meet.
Okay, thank you. And then a report from the Ad Hoc Board Policy Committee. Chair Cruz is not here, but I understand they did not meet this period. And then next, a report from the Ad Hoc ILA Committee. We did meet on May 20th, but there is no new information to share. And then next we'll hear a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library, Ms. Elvis Presley.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Library Trustees. It's a pleasure that I have been able to attend 5 group meetings this month of the various Friends groups, and everyone is getting ready for summer with SAPL. So all of the Friends groups are just wanting to help, and some of them have been asked to come in and help, and they're totally excited about that. I did attend the annual Pan American Cultural Festival at Carver Branch Library. Wonderful event, very well attended. We are continuing to sell our Friends tote bags, and so that has been going over quite well. On Sunday, May 18th, I tried a new idea. It was called Meet and Share Idea Meeting, and it was prior to the Friends board meeting. I had all of the friends of the branches, the presidents were the only ones invited, special invitation, and we had a very good turnout. All the different presidents shared ideas of how they try to get people into the library, get them to sign up, and what works and doesn't in the different councilmen's districts. That was quite interesting. One of the ones that I thought was really great was the plant swap. And that was just something that everyone enjoyed doing. So I have been asked, for those who missed it, to hold one more. So I'm going to wait till after summer and have it then, because everybody's going to be busy working on their branch budgets and everything. So I think after summer, after vacation, back to school, this is going to be another good thing to have again. Just so you know, life is never boring with the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library. When our board meeting was getting ready to end on Sunday, the vice president resigned at the end of the Friends board meeting. So we now have positions open for secretary and vice president. The good news is that evening, one of the Friends members emailed me and said, I have an interest in that position. Great. Made me feel good. So Friends Instagram account, I know everyone is on, is going well. We're picking up more followers. We are continuing to post more pictures, meeting information, and Friends book sales. So always look at that. I went to the bookseller last Saturday, and the new arrangements of the books are fantastic. I don't know if y'all have been down there or not. I really like it. The books are being arranged to make it easier to find certain topics. Example, thrillers, cookbooks, westerns, and the list goes on how well they're putting that together. Ben and his volunteers are amazing, so kind and helpful. I watched them with some people that came in, and it was just a great time. Walked out with a couple of books, so contributing to our bookseller too. It's a great place for some great books at a great price. Mark your calendars, Sunday, July 27th at 2 p.m. Our Friends board meeting will be at the Tobin Library. And one thing that I wasn't sure that I wanted to keep anymore, I asked 9 questions, got 7 answers I liked. Another date for your calendar will be Sunday, November 16th at 2 p.m. Mission Branch Library will be the Arts and Letters Award. So I'm excited about that. So start sending some names in and the bios, and let us start looking at it and get ready to get 2025 underway. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll get a report from the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
Good afternoon. As you all know, we have Katrina Ball on November 1st, but we did have to have a venue change. So we are no longer hosting at the Tobin Center. We are moving to the Ralston, which is the new event center at the San Antonio Zoo. We've seen a few of the renderings. This place looks amazing, and we will be able to do a walkthrough there in July. We've changed our website already and the Katrina Ball website to indicate the change of venue. If you all received our annual report, at the bottom of the report, it still does say the Tobin Center because it went to print before we made that change. But all communication has been changed to the Ralston. Last Wednesday, we had our board builder buzz tour with Secret was there with our board and Amy. We had 20 board members attend, and they went to Carver, Forest Hills, Mission, and Schaefer. We do this every May, June, so our board members renewed their commitment to fundraise for teen spaces in our library system at Forest Hills, and the capital campaign at Carver. This summer, we began to recruit for our new board members, so if you have any suggestions, please feel free to go to email Amy those names. She tends to meet with these people throughout the year, and then if they are join the board, they start in January 2026. We have also received an award of $5,000 from the Betty Steering Kelso Foundation for the Women of the West Side mural at Memorial. That wasn't enough, so we will also be receiving another donation from a private donor to be able to complete that project, as well as the purchase of the Compulsive Search for Ancestry, which is an art piece at Central Library, and the renovation or restoration of the Jesse Trevino Memorial across from the auditorium at Central as well. We should be getting that money pretty soon, so as soon as we do, we'll let the SAPL staff know. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jessica. And then next we have a report from the San Antonio Book Festival. Maritza Serlos.
Yes, and Jessica will pass out a by the numbers report. Thank you all so much for having me tonight, and to the board chair and to all the board members. I really appreciate. First and foremost, I really come to you guys, of course, to give you a report, but also to express my sincere gratitude for all the support that we get from our, partners. And the San Antonio Public Library is our very dear, near partner to us, and the Central Library. We couldn't do this without you guys, so I can't thank y'all enough, so thank you. On April the 11th, April the 12th, we had our 13th annual San Antonio Book Festival, which was so magical. And I feel like I can say that because I've literally have been a part of every festival. I've been a part of the festival since the inception. So this year just felt great. And I hope y'all were able to come and enjoy that and be a part of it. So we had just put a report together after the festival. We call it our numbers report, and you can thumb through here. This year, we calculated our festival goers, about 22,000 people that came through the festival throughout the day. The festival does take place from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Really, we say 9 a.m. because we know how San Antonio is, kind of the land of mañana sometimes, so we want them to get there to be ready to go at 10. So sessions really start at 10, but we advertise 9. We had 64 sessions. Unfortunately, this year was our year that we received the most. Some people, our authors either got sick, something happened, and we had to cancel, I believe, 2 sessions. And then there was about, I would say, 7 authors that were not able to make it for different reasons, but not all the sessions were canceled because they're panel discussions. So we had 95 authors show up. They featured 85 books. And our bookseller, which is Nowhere Bookshop, which we're really proud to be partnered with a, local bookseller, they were thrilled with the number of sales they made that day. And part of that, I was making some notes as y'all were all giving reports. And Marcy, I feel that we could help the friends at Encino, give them some books if they need to from a little bit of our leftovers that we have. So we can help in some kind of capacity. So as mentioned, number of sessions was 64, and there's a breakdown of the different genres that were presented. We have a very data-based literary director, Anna Dobbin. She really researches, and so she puts her nose into all the research, and so she figures out what people are reading in San Antonio, and so that's how we end up with a lot of these different, like nonfiction. Our top sellers, our top sessions, and we'll see that in a minute, are horror and romance. That's what San Antonio's reading. That's what we figured out. So you can see how that average attendance by the hour looks like by that chart, and what the different genres, the category breakdowns are. And then the next page, on page 3, that shows you what our highest attended sessions are. Of course, Sandra Cisneros is always a fan favorite. So she was a high attendance at 242. She's at our 10 o'clock session, and then you can see the other ones that how they fared on the top sessions and authors. And then our highest attended events, Magic Theater always brings the magic to our children's gazebo, which is sponsored by HEB. So the HEB gazebo gets packed at that that hour. This year was at 11 a.m. And then the Ready, Set, Draw, the sketch off that we do at the end of the day is super popular. So our children's area is amazing at the festival. The next page talks about the authors and where they come from, and we do have a lot of Texas authors from Texas. However, we have just as many that are national and even international. We had 5 from international, 16 from San Antonio, 36 that were national, and 38 that were from the Great Texas. From this area. We receive a lot of praise. We get a lot of compliments. So all of y'all should feel great about this from these authors that love being here. They love the library. They love everything. Everybody's so hospitable and nice, and they go back and they talk about it. And so you should feel really good that a lot of these authors are just singing our praises. So that is all of us. It's not just us, it's all of us that show how nice we are and how well we take care of everybody. And not only do we have authors that are representing all these different genres and different places from the United States, but they're award winners. So we had 7 National Book Award honored titles, 4 Pulitzer Prize recipients, 3 MacArthur Genius recipients, 3 times 100 most influential people, 2 Newbery Medal winners, and a Guinness World Record holder. So, and then there's a little graph that shows how they identify like what nationality they are. Then we talk about what books and what the top sellers were, so you can kind of just see what the top sellers were. Of course, Sandra Cisneros' The House on Mango Street, still super popular. It even sells at our bookseller there at the festival. And then again, what I was talking about a minute ago about the genre breakdown about what is our most top selling, and you'll see based on this chart, 242 romance titles that were really the the fan favorite. And then the top 15 books represent 22% of the total book sales. So we also incorporate during the festival, we have what we call partner schools. And we partner with SAISD and Edgewood schools, and they bring their kids to the festival. And so we make sure that they get books and they get signed, and we make sure they have food, that they can have a lunch, and we give them space. And so it really does, the kids love it. And throughout the year we also do author school visits. They have author school visits the Friday before the festival, and throughout the year we try to keep that going. So the kids are just so excited. It's a highlight of the festival, and that is why that contributes to a lot of those numbers that you see that they attended, like the Magic Theater show. This year too, I don't know, I was like surprised when I saw this. They put the report together. I was like, a bride celebrated their bachelorette party at the book festival. How fun is that? I love that idea. Full with sashes and tiaras. I mean, how cool is that? So fun. I mean, we're just getting cooler and cooler. So we hope that you will save the date for next year, April the 11th, 2026. I know it's on the calendar. Dale saved the dates for us. And again, I can't thank y'all enough. The team at the library is amazing. I couldn't do it without them. So thank y'all. And if y'all have any questions,
Thank you, Maritza. I do have one question for you. The book sales at Nowhere Books, does that all go to the bookseller, or does some of it go back to Book Festival?
In our previous arrangement with Barnes & Noble, we did get a percentage of those sales, but with Nowhere Bookshop, because they were new, I mean, they came in during the pandemic. And they started with us in 2021 when we were doing the virtual festival. So we didn't ask them for a percentage, and so we still haven't. And we, you know, had that discussion with their general manager, and it just wasn't it hasn't worked yet.
Okay.
But it's still something that we're gonna pursue.
It's the volume of books seems like it's growing.
It
which
is
very heartening
growing.
to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is definitely a thing that's happening. So we'll see how it grows, and hopefully we can incorporate that so we can use that as a fundraising mechanism as well.
Well, last month when our board met, it was immediately after the book festival. So you understandably, you and your team were probably like taking a huge break, right? But you didn't get an opportunity to hear all of the high praise that almost everyone on this board shared. So I'll just give you a quick glimpse, which was just that everyone was completely amazed by how well it went. And seeing the numbers, I will say, I personally, and I think a couple people mentioned this last month, it did not seem as crowded. So seeing the numbers is really heartening, because I think your team did such a great job of improving the flow of traffic so there weren't like high congestion areas. So everything just felt like, you know, you were not crowded. There's plenty of room to move around, and I think
our
it was
number
fantastic.
did drop a little bit from 2024. Last year we reported 25,000, so this year we reported 22, and there's different reasons for that. Just the weekend, I mean, that month was busy. We went from Final Four, then you know the book festival, then Fiesta.
Yeah.
So everybody gets a little bit of fatigue, but yeah.
That
But
was
yes,
fantastic.
it did feel really good. Like I said at the beginning, it felt magical. So yeah.
Definitely noticed all that. So thank you so much. I brought my, just so you know, I brought my.
Yay! Oh, awesome! I love it. Well, again,
Great
thank you
function
all.
bag. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a staff report, Pan American Branch Library, and Elma Nieto Rodriguez will introduce the branch manager, or the assistant manager.
Good afternoon. We're getting ready and prepped for it. Thank you so much. Speaking of a location or libraries that love to serve the community, welcome to the Pan American Branch Library. On behalf of the manager, Nicole San Martin, unfortunately she wasn't able to be here today, but we do have a fabulous stand-in in Paula Opiela. Paula has been with the Pan Am team since October. Before that, she was working at NEISD at the Pruitt Branch Library. So she's been serving the San Antonio communities for quite a while. I'd like to bring up Ms. Paula Opiela.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Pan American Branch. Good to see you here. Let's see. Do I get a click? Am I holding it upside down? There we go. Thank you. All right. So you're at the correct place, the Pan American Branch. All right, for our staff, we've been affectionately christened the Panamaniacs by our manager, Nicole San Martin, who's come on full-time with us this year. We're all relatively new with working together. Our full-time circulation attendant, Gracie Bueno, is the most senior staff member with 4 whole years, though she does have over 20 years with SAPL. 5 of our 9 staff members have worked at the Pan American Branch less than a year, but we are going to welcome a new part-time library assistant in the very near future. Very excited about that. Pictured on this slide is the most recent staff in-service day, where we crafted flower crowns for the entire staff. You'll see us on the upper right. There's staff standing with Smarty and posing in front of a Valentine's book display. Our staff work in numerous library-wide committees such as Creative Aging, Summer with SAPL, Teen Summer, Nature Smart, which is a children's initiative that focuses on nature-based programming, Special Needs and Neurodiverse Work Group, and the Teen Discord. So we've got our fingers in everywhere. For recent upgrades, the most recent upgrade to our building includes work on our HVAC repair. During our short closure, the staff provided curbside services at the branch. And in the photo, you can see our new HVAC, oops, let's back up a little bit. There we go. You can see our new HVAC cassettes. We added a bench near our entrance that our regulars who wait for us to open have enjoyed. The new bench was purchased with capital outlay funds. 5 new trees were added to our grounds through Parks and Recreation. We've got 2 desert willows, 2 Mexican white oaks, and a cedar elm. You can see the photo of the trees when they were just planted, and recently we've got beautiful blooms on our desert willows. Coming soon through capital outlay funds, we'll have a thread system to give our patrons more access to outlets, and a new projector and screen for this room, for the meeting room. We are currently arranging installation details for both of those things. Thank you. For outreach and partnerships, that's something that's very large to us at Pan American. Some of the regular outreach events our branch participates in include our teen librarian Gladys visiting McCollum High School once a month to promote our programming, teen time, and our resources. I, as our adult services librarian, visits the nearby senior centers, crafts information as part of the Creative Aging Committee. Rachel, our children's librarian, puts on story times at the DePaul Children's Center once a month and visits Harlandale special programs and PTA meetings. In the picture, you can see me with one of our Learn staff and one of our other SAPL librarians at the Salvation Army Mission Corps, where we did a Fiesta Corona craft with the patrons there. Rachel was at the Earth Day at Woodlawn Lake, an official Fiesta event. She led participants in a nature-themed craft and provided information on the library's nature-based programming. And we also are partnered with Metro Health, tabling at the vaccine clinic in April. The same week, we hosted Metro Health's STI mobile clinic, which set up in our parking lot, provided STI testing and information to our walk-in patrons. Metro Health also hosted their Diabetes Garage here, which is a 4-part workshop for men who have been diagnosed with diabetes to get them to come in, talk about what's going on, how they can manage their symptoms, and get their own questions about their care answered. We've got some upcoming partnerships and collaborative programming coming up. Juneteenth program featuring our former poet laureate for San Antonio, Andrea Sanderson. And we are also currently working with Liz Alves and District 3 board member Josie Martinez to establish a Friends of the Library group at Pan American. We don't have one yet, but we are surely looking forward to having one. We appreciate their support. Let's see, will I get this to click? Aha. Just as a quick example, we've got our Diamond Painting Club, which started out as a teen program, but has expanded to all ages. The patrons have expressed they enjoy the social aspect and sharing, along with actually doing the art. It's part of our lean towards doing multi-generational programming. We tend to start in one area and kind of expand it out because people come with their families, people come with their kids. If it's available to them, everybody wins. Let's see. Thank you. One of our larger programs is the Special Needs Adult Programming. Once a month, we do a read-along story, a craft, and a snack program for our adults with special needs. It's a very well-attended program. Sometimes we've reached just under 50 participants for this program. Most of the attendees are residents at nearby assisted living communities. And we are hoping to go ahead and adapt this program. Miss Rachel, with our children's programming, has begun offering a storytime program for neurodiverse adults with sensory sensitivities. So that's something that's just new on board with us. Two more areas to talk about are teens. Teen librarian holds the teen time every Monday. Teens who attend are mostly homeschooled from right around in our area. The teens themselves help create our book displays for the teens. We're slated for funding to upgrade the current teen space that's pictured here. And Gladys is also on the Teen Summer Committee and was part of facilitating the contest to choose the Teen Summer shirt artwork, buttons, and events. And our last note is on the children's area. Ms. Rachel is famous for incorporating her ukulele into story time with wonderful songs and rhymes every Wednesday, 11 to 12. She also holds tween time and Lego time and family fun time. Many of our programs are attended by the whole family, children of a wide range of ages. We also offer a scavenger hunt, which is pictured, and a come and go craft. We've also recently started an art wall. You can see that on the left-hand side where children can display the art they create. And we've got the children's area, which is pictured there. Newly incorporated play area since last fall. Features sensory toys, manipulatives, magnet and felt boards, and seating for parents so that they can sit right there with their kids while their kids are bouncing around and having a great time. And that's a snapshot of our branch. We're so glad you came here today. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question on the special needs programming. Can you give me an example of what kind of programming, like a program that you might offer?
So the special program that we do, it's once a month, and follows a particular structure of we read a picture story together. So we've actually got it up on there, and we've got the words coming along so that we can follow along with it. And then we do a craft that is usually based on the story somehow. We did Shel Silverstein's Giraffe and a Half as our story, and so our participants created little pipe cleaner giraffes with little beads on them. Some of them, they saw the beads, they saw the pipe cleaners, they immediately started building bracelets for themselves because that's what they do when they see them. And that was great too. So we walked around, we helped those who were making bracelets make bracelets, those who were making giraffes make giraffes. And then we have a snack for those who want it. And that's pretty much how our program follows.
Did you say once a month you have that?
Once a month we have
And
it.
is it for young adults, or did you say?
It's for all adults who have special needs. So if it's an adult who thinks they would like to try it, are interested in it, caregivers are welcome, and in fact they're very much appreciated. It's a lot of people to try to take care of at one time. But yeah, young adults, older adults, if they would enjoy this program, then by all means, they're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, where does that program take place? Because 150 is a lot. You get
right here,
150 people in this room? Oh, wow.
Yeah, 50 people was pretty crowded, but we were able to move around. We had 2 people in their wheelchairs. We had companions who came assisting me and Ms. Rachel as well.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Well, thank you, Paula, for hosting us today, and thank you for providing insight into all the wonderful things happening at this branch.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next, we will review and consider approval of the San Antonio Public Library's minors and individuals with neurodevelopmental disabilities policy. I believe that's going to be Dale.
Yes, indeed. So good evening, Madam Chair, Trustees, Library Director. So what I'm bringing you is a policy that you have in your packet. And we worked with staff on developing this policy for about a year. It's an entirely new policy, so we're not going to be comparing it to a previous one. It's something that's entirely new. It will replace the unattended minors policy that we had before. So that policy will be retired, but this is so different that there really is no value in kind of reviewing what the old one was. So the draft that you have before you, in addition to the heart of the work for this was done by Morgan Yoshimura, Jennifer Velasquez, and Crescencia Huff, the library services managers for age-based services. As we developed it, and then again, when we finally finished, and again, it was a year of work, we reviewed this with a lot of library staff members, including, is there anything I can do about that? Oh, Adam's gonna do it. Okay. I see, and I didn't realize I could look down here. Okay. So that included with the children's librarians together, teen librarians together, adult librarians together. Then we had a time where all library staff could review it together and give comments. We took all that, we made changes, and then they were able to review the final version, before we took it to you. Of course, it's still in draft form. Along the way, we also worked with the city's Disability Access Office, which is part of the Department of Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. With the City Attorney's Office, you'll see why momentarily. With the Texas Department of Children, of Family and Protective Services. So we really were trying to get input from all the experts that we could. And I think you'll see that there's an advantage that we did that. So what I want to do is just kind of walk through what I think are some of the highlights and then take your questions. So everybody, yeah, I see everybody has it, so that's great. I thought about making slides, but it just seemed like too much text to try to have on this screen here. So we start off obviously with the purpose, and this supports the Library Code of Conduct, which will be coming to you sometime this year, right, with a new version where we're looking at the Code of Conduct through the trauma-informed training that staff are receiving. It's not going to be particularly different in meaning, but I think the way it's expressed will be better. And then it does talk about an important concept right at the beginning. In that third sentence, it says individuals, families, and caregivers are responsible for their own actions in the library. The library does not act in loco parentis, because that's a misunderstanding that some people have. So the role of librarians and library staff is very different from teachers, which, it makes sense because you're voluntarily coming to the library. The next session is definitions. I think those are clear, but I'll pause here if anybody has any questions on the first page. If not, we'll move on, and please feel free to ask me questions at any time. So on the next section under responsibilities, we start off by saying, it's fairly obvious that the Patron Code of Conduct applies to all users, that library users are encouraged to use the library as independently as possible. If someone is unable to use the library independently, someone needs to be with them. This is the part that speaks to the former unaccompanied minors, which had ages and so on. What we kind of discovered looking at that is that there isn't any one age that's the time you can use the library independently. There isn't any magical age for that. So we decided here to really focus on, are you able to use the library independently? The staff responsibility, again, to apply the Patron Code of Conduct consistently and without bias. Where you see those links, those will be active links when the policy is posted on the library's website. Again, the second thing, we say this many times, and we say it every time we have the opportunity to. If someone asks a library worker if someone is in the library or on the grounds, we are not able to provide that information. We do work with SAPD missing persons. That's the next item. So this says staff would direct these questions to library administration. What we do then, just so you know, is we contact SAPD missing persons. This is kind of a little exception because normally we can't say if anyone is in the library without an order from a court. But as we've discussed in the past, when a person is missing, there's no known crime, so there cannot be an order from a court. So what we've worked out with the city attorney's office is this is a way we can help friends and families of a missing person without revealing to them, if we're able to help. Because of course, the very person, as you can guess, who comes saying, oh, my child is missing, that may be the person the child is trying to disappear from. So that's why we have this process. Truancy, the library doesn't have any role with truancy. Truant officers of the school districts are welcome to come into the library and do their job, just as any other law enforcement is welcome to do so. But we don't report individuals who might be truant to any school and again, we don't have any legal obligation to do that, nor can we reveal to the school who's in the library. So that's sometimes we have to work sometimes closely with schools about that. Because as I'm sure you all know, there's a national problem with truancy right now. It's an enormous problem. So it's not that we don't want to be supportive, it's that we help the school district find other ways besides us calling and saying, Susie's at the library. And I guess when you think about all the places a truant student could be, the library's not exactly the worst.
That's exactly.
I don't ever say that. Sometimes I kind of gently suggest, maybe these are not the ones you should be focused on. Okay. Reporting suspected abuse. Section 5 here tells our staff and the public what our staff's obligations are under the Texas Family Code and the Texas Human Resources Code. The first one is about minors. The second one is about adults. We have done these things before. We have not clearly articulated them in a written policy. So I think that is a good thing that we're doing. This was, in fact, suggested by these state agencies, and I think they're probably going to convey this to other libraries, that it would be good for them to put this in a public policy and let people know that, that we will help in these regards. So we also had to learn how to help, like an elderly person with dementia, for example, who didn't know they were at the library. So we had to figure out, from the state, like, what do we actually do in that situation? They've been enormously helpful, I have to say. The last section, section C on page 3, is that we do designate children's and teen spaces in our libraries, and those are primarily for the use of people in those ages. Of course, there's a common area in every library that's available for anyone to use, and that people with neurodevelopmental disabilities generally would use the space of their chronological age, but in some cases accommodation would be necessary. This last sentence in this policy, accommodations may be requested through the person in charge, is also something new in this policy. This is something our city's Department of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility recommended. And our staff already do this, but we've never stated it in a public policy adopted by the board. So I really want to thank all the staff and the community organizations that helped us with development of this policy. It is, of course, currently a draft. It does come to you from the Policy Review Committee. In this case, the Policy Review Committee approved this to come to you at their March meeting. They have actually discussed it at more than one meeting because they had some great input, some suggestions for changes. So I don't want you to ever think that, for those of you who haven't been on that committee, it's not that we just give them a policy and they read it and say, oh, great, that's not how it works. Nor is that how it should work, right? I want to be very clear. It really is a dialogue. So that's where I'm going to end, but I'm happy to answer questions or hear comments.
Thank you, Dale. Any questions, clarifications on the document itself or any of the language that's included? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve this new policy.
I'll motion to approve the minors and individuals with neurodevelopment disabilities policy.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And a second from Josie. Okay, and we can take a vote.
Carla Gargiulo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Diables Robledo.
Aye, good work.
Marcy Ince. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dale. And thank you to the Ad hoc Board Policy Committee for the hard work in collaboration with the staff on this. Next, we have an item to consider delegation of the selection of closure dates to the library director for an upcoming project at Johnston Branch Library. Kathy?
Okay. Third time's the charm, it worked. Okay, so we have an item for you that is being forwarded from the Facilities Committee to delegate to the library director closure dates for Johnson Branch Library. We have 2 electrical disconnect switches at the branch, which while this is not an emergency issue, it's something we need to address and we need to replace those switches just due to them being end of life. The work will require a 2-day shutdown of power. We're hoping it might end up being 1 day, but we're kind of counting on 2 because we do have to coordinate with CPS to do the shutdown and turning the power back on. So we are going to minimize the closure to the public. Of course, we'll do the full communication plan. Even though this is such a short closure, we'll proactively do that, make sure that people are aware ahead of time when we do the closure. And so again, the Facilities Committee did recommend delegation of picking closure dates to the director just because we need a little flexibility in terms of when that can be given CPS coordination.
Okay, thank you for the background on that. Any questions on this one? And if not, I'll entertain a motion for action.
I move that we accept the Facilities Committee recommendation for the delegation of closure days to the library director for the electrical repairs necessary at Johnson Branch Library.
Thank you, Marcy. And the second was Carla? Thank you. Okay. Take a vote on this.
Carla Gargiulo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Dobles Robledo.
Aye.
Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy, for providing that information. Next, we'll review and consider the revised Library Board Committee appointments and liaison assignments. There are 2 sheets in your packet, a pink one and a white one that look very similar. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to point out the committee assignments that have changed. So those are on the white sheet. It looks like this. And I want, of course, to thank all of you for your time and consideration and feedback to me regarding the committees and how the work in the committees is going. So there are 3 changes on the ad hoc committees. The first one, Ad hoc Library Policies Committee. There are 2 changes. The first one is that Fernanda Cardenas, who is already on the committee, will take the position of chair for that committee. The second change is that our newer trustee from District 7, Michelle Delblis Robledo, will join that committee. The third change is that Michelle will also join the Ad hoc Bond Committee. And those happen to be right next to each other on the document, and those are the only changes that are being proposed here. So after you have a chance to look over those 3 changes, I will entertain a motion to take action on this item.
I move that we accept the new roster of committee assignments as presented by the board chair.
Thank you, Beth.
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. We'll do a roll call vote.
Carla Gurgiolo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Mary Ann Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas.
Aye.
Michelle Douglas Robledo.
Aye.
Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Okay, thank you all for your consideration. Thank you, Fernanda and Michelle, for stepping up. I always say that the real work of this board happens in the committee, so I appreciate your dedication, everyone's dedication, actually, for all of the work that you put forward. And finally, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Second. All right, Marcia's making the motion. I don't think we need to vote on that. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.